welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. This week I have 4 super easy and delicious meals to share with you. They're all very budget friendly and I think they're meals that your whole family is going to love. If you are a busy mom and you just need some really quick and easy meals, that is what I am all about over on my channel. I really try to focus on very easy meals, nothing super complicated, but things that my kids will actually eat. So definitely make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss out on those. I would love to have you. I do a What's for Dinner every Sunday, lots of meal prep, grocery hauls. I have a crockpot series going on right now, but let's go ahead and get into all of these easy meal ideas. So for this first dinner, I'm just making a chicken stuffing casserole. This is just something that I made up and threw together with things that I had on hand. So I'm just starting off with 1 large onion that I just went ahead and softened in the microwave a little bit. And then I have 1 can of cream of mushroom, as well as 1 can of cream of chicken. And then for seasonings in this dish, I kept it super simple and basic. I just did a little bit of black pepper, some salt, as well as some garlic powder. Go ahead and play around with those seasonings if you want, but that's all that I felt this dish needed. I'm getting all of that mixed together and then I'm gonna layer it up in my casserole dish. I just have a 9x13 baking dish that I'm spraying with a little bit of olive oil so nothing sticks. And then I am taking a little bit of that sauce mixture and just spreading it across the bottom of the pan. I'm going to be laying my chicken on this and I don't want it to get dried out. So here is just 2 chicken breasts that I cut up into some pretty big chunks. You can do them a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. It's just personal preference. And then I did decide to season them up with just a little bit of salt and pepper and keep that super simple and basic. And then to sneak in a little extra veggies here, I added in just 1 can of green beans. You could do fresh or frozen as well, but this is what I had on hand. And then I'm taking the rest of that sauce mixture and just spreading it around on top. And then for the stuffing part of this casserole, I'm just taking half of this bag. This was a 12-ounce bag and I used about 6 ounces of it, which is the same as a box of stuffing. And then I melted about a stick of butter and drizzled it right on top. You could also mix this up separately in another bowl, but I was just trying to make it very simple and not have to do any dishes. And then I just threw this right into a 375-degree oven. I think I baked it for right around like 35 to 40 minutes and it came out super delicious. I'm sorry I did not get this all plated up for you guys. I actually ended up taking it into my husband's work, but this was a really yummy dinner. For this next dinner was actually just the kids and I, so I just made some quick meatballs with a marinara sauce and some orzo pasta. So here I have my meatballs just popped into my air fryer. These are the ones I made in a meal prep video a while back, and they turn out super good in this Ella Homes air fryer. I highly recommend it. I put them in at 325 degrees. I did about 15 minutes to start and then I probably did another 10 minutes and they turned out super delicious. While those were in the air fryer, I just threw in some orzo pasta. If you have never tried orzo pasta, it's really delicious. It's almost like rice. My kids eat it so well. So if you have little kids and they like rice, this is a really great quick option. And here I'm just getting those meatballs right out of the air fryer and I'm actually putting them into a little pizza pan. This is one of the accessories with the air fryer. Now onto these meatballs, I just had a little bit of marinara sauce in the fridge. I'm covering those meatballs all up in the marinara sauce, and then I'm also adding on some mozzarella cheese, and this is just gonna go right back in the air fryer for a couple of minutes. And you guys, these meatballs turn out super, super good. Absolutely recommend trying these out. Here is what the meatballs ended up looking like in the air fryer. I just threw them in for a couple of minutes and everything was nice and melted. I served them over the orzo pasta. I will have the recipe for these meatballs linked down below if you guys want to try it out. It was in a meal prep video from a while back. For the next dinner this week, I just made some Parmesan crusted chicken and some creamy noodles. This was a late night dinner after the kids had went to bed. This was just for Kenny and I, but I'm starting off by making the breading for my chicken. So So I just did about half a cup of grated Parmesan and then about half a cup of panko breadcrumbs. You guys know I love my panko. It just makes the chicken super crispy. And then here I used quite a variety of seasonings. I'm sorry I don't have measurements, but I did parsley. I did a little bit of paprika, some Italian seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, as well as some salt and pepper. But you could also use just some plain Italian panko breadcrumbs if you don't want to add all of the seasonings in there. And then I just mixed all of this up, and this is actually going to be the coating for our chicken. So into my bowl here, I just have 1 egg and I'm adding in a couple tablespoons of milk and getting this mixed together. This is just gonna be the egg wash for my chicken. We're gonna put this on the chicken before adding on the breadcrumbs. So for the chicken on this night, I just had 1 chicken breast that I went ahead and cut in half so it was nice and thin. If you have never tried making breaded chicken like this at home, it's so fun to do. We do this pretty much weekly now. We love making any sort of breaded chicken. Sometimes I will throw it in the oven, sometimes I will pan fry it, and then sometimes I do throw it into the air fryer, which is what I did on this night. And it's been one of my favorite things to do lately. I recently got a new air fryer and I absolutely love it. It's the Elec Homes one. And it is super good. It actually has 2 fans in it, and I think it cooks the chicken a lot more thoroughly and a lot more evenly than my other one. So I like to just spray my chicken with a little bit of cooking spray. And then for this chicken, I baked it at 325 degrees for about 15 minutes to start, and then I ended up putting it in for about another 10 minutes after I flipped it, and it came out absolutely perfect. It was very crispy and it had tons of flavor, but it was still really nice and juicy inside. While my chicken was cooking up, I'm just melting down about a tablespoon of butter, and once that's melted, I'm adding in about a tablespoon of flour, and I'm just mixing that all together. Definitely use a whisk here if you have one, but I do not have a rubber whisk yet, which is why I'm using a spatula. I didn't want to scratch my pan, but I'm letting that cook together for a little bit before adding in my chicken broth. I added in about half a cup of chicken broth, and then for seasonings, I kept this very basic and simple. I just did some salt and pepper with a little bit of garlic powder. I do add in some more seasoning later on, but I'm letting that chicken broth thicken up before adding in my milk. Once that has thickened up, I'm adding in about half a cup of milk. Let that thicken up before adding in your cheese. For the cheese here, I'm doing Parmesan cheese. I added probably like half a cup or so. Let that melt down, and then your sauce is good to go. It really is easy to make your own sauce. It doesn't have to be too complicated or anything. I know a lot of people think it is and they always buy the jarred sauce, but it's really easy to make your own. So I'm just adding this over some pasta. Use whatever kind you want. I just had some linguine on hand. Once I had this over my pasta, I did go ahead and add in some extra seasonings. I kept it very basic. Salt, pepper, parsley, garlic powder. That was pretty much all that I added on this night, and it was really good paired with this chicken, but definitely play around with the seasonings here and do whatever your family loves. This is how everything looked all plated up. This was a really quick and easy dinner. It honestly only took probably like half an hour to throw together, and we really enjoyed this one. For this next dinner, I am making some venison fajitas, but if you don't like venison, you can totally do this with some beef. Use whatever you want. Just cut up some steak or whatever, and it should be good to go. So I'm just starting off with my tin foil. I do like to always use a lined baking sheet for this just to make cleanup really nice and easy. And then I'm cutting up all of my bell peppers. So this is up to you what you want to use for your bell peppers, but I usually will do 1 red, 1 orange, and 1 yellow, but I know those ones are a little bit more expensive, so you could definitely do some green peppers, but I really like the variety. So definitely play around and see what your family likes, but I'm just slicing these all up. You do want them to be pretty thin. My kids absolutely love peppers, so they love when I make fajitas. It's so funny because I never thought little kids would like peppers, but both of my kids, my 1-year-old and my 2-year-old, really enjoy peppers, especially these sweet ones, so they're perfect for making fajitas. And of course, I also had to slice up an onion. So this is just one large yellow onion, but you can really use whatever variety you want. I have used purple for this, and I've also used yellow, so you can use whatever you have on hand. And then I'm just cutting up my meat. There's lots of cutting in this recipe, but it's also really nice because it's a sheet pan meal. You can just throw it in the oven and leave it. You don't have to really stand by the stove or do anything crazy like that. So this is a really good, get it all prepped and ready to go, and then all you gotta do is pop it in the oven. So that is such a win for me once I get everything cut up. So here I have about 2 pounds of venison steaks, but like I said, you can totally use other steaks. You don't have to use venison. Use whatever you have and whatever your family likes. Now for this seasoning here, I do like to make my own fajita seasoning, but you can totally buy one from the store and that works as well, but it's cheap to make your own, so I would recommend that route. I will have this recipe linked down below that I follow. It's actually for chicken fajitas, but it works really well for venison fajitas as well. So play around with it, but we think it's really good and it's not too spicy for the kids. So if you need something mild, this is a pretty good recipe for that. So I will leave that link down below for you guys. Once you have all of your ingredients prepped and ready to go, you can just spread everything around the baking sheet, and then you're just gonna drizzle it with a little bit of oil. I chose to use vegetable oil, but I have also used olive oil and it turned out totally fine. And then I'm just taking that seasoning that I mixed up and I'm spreading this all across the top of my meat, my onions, and my peppers. You wanna get everything completely covered in the seasoning, and then you're gonna toss all of this together. That's really all the prep that you need to do for this recipe, and then you're just gonna throw it right into the oven, which is my favorite because then I don't have to stand in front of a stove when my kids are running around me like crazy. So I just baked this in a 400-degree oven for like 35 to 40 minutes. I did stir it about halfway through to make sure nothing was burning and that everything was getting really well cooked, but this is what they come out looking like. They are so delicious. You can do this with chicken in this recipe as well, and we love that. I've tried it out. So this is what our fajitas look like. I just served them up with some cheese and some sour cream, and this is a really yummy dinner. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this week of What's for Dinner. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. I do post a new What's for Dinner every Sunday. I have a crockpot series going on right now. I do lots of meal prep and other food related content. So definitely make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care.